Hello, ladies and gentle ladies. I just finished binge watching a season and a half of I Am Kate, and I have so much on my mind. And I really want to talk about the LGBT community with people who just don't know much about it. So let's discuss, shall we? So after spending the weekend watching this show, first I was kind of actually surprised how much I enjoyed it for being a Kardashian Jenner kind of experience. I don't have anything really against the family, but it does suck to see, 85% of the country in poverty at this point, and then the Kardashians like spending a ridiculous amount of money on the dumbest shit and being popular for really stupid reasons when having that many followers following your family, you could be so influential. Like, if they had a message for something good, that would be awesome. But the same goes out there for Beyonce and Taylor Swift and Miley Cyrus. I love Miley Cyrus and Beyonce for dipping their toe in the water, and Beyonce supporting feminism her way and promoting an agenda to look into police brutality. But she's not being courageous by any means. She put something out there. It got her a lot of backfire, and she retreated. You can very much see that. She was scared by it. She'll never admit to that because she would lose so much of her following, but it's true. These people use intimidation to make minorities scared, and it goes across the board. Any minority, any authority figure will make you feel like you deserve to be a minority. We've talked about this many times. But after watching this show, I'm really surprised, A, that it's on the verge of cancellation, because it isn't a show following Kate Jenner. It's a show about her getting berated for her beliefs and her views. She was raised athletic, straight, cis, heterosexual male, totally given the world, super athletic, super rich, and had the world at Bruce's fingertips. And then when he transitioned, he had to realize that living as a woman, you're now treated like a woman, and because you're trans, you're treated lesser than a woman. So he's thrust into this world surrounded by other transgendered women, mainly women. There's not really many trans men on there, but you do see a couple. But it's introducing you to the lifestyle, it's introducing you to the culture, and it's introducing you to why it is so important that Caitlyn Jenner learn her roots. Because if she's going to go out there and be a spokesperson for trans people, she needs to know the history. And we're going on that journey with her, and I think it's so fucking cool. I'm really surprised it's on the verge of cancellation, but I've learned so much from this show, and I'm from the LGBT community. It really got me thinking how much trans people in general, their own little singled out group, deal with much more on a daily basis than us as gay men or lesbian women. Because honestly, the T in LGBT for trans, it doesn't get included. It doesn't get included. I'm thinking about, so I came out 10 years ago, more than that, weird. When I came out, the trans part of the community was not discussed. Gay people didn't talk trans. Nothing was ever brought up. I didn't know anything about it. In my head back then in, 2000, 2003, I thought it was a mental disorder. I didn't know what it was, and now being thrust into 2016 where it's on the forefront, I think that's so fascinating because it really opened my eyes to how hypocritical, how judgmental, how homophobic I was being, and I was a homosexual. Like, this stuff, you don't have to take on the role of being a homophobe or a racist or whatever, because you need to know this is a human learning experience. We are learning together. If you don't experience life as a black man or woman, you can't know the struggle, but you can empathize and you can listen and you can be an ally to help. Same with any gay, lesbian, trans, same thing. If you're straight, you can't know what the struggle is like. However, you can be there for support, for love, to listen, because that's what this is all about. It's just about listening, understanding that trans people are not out there to hurt or harm anyone in any way. They're trying to survive, and a lot of survival tactics include survival crimes, such as prostitution or theft. It's a dangerous world we live in, and if you're cushioned by having the luxury of wealth or security in family and housing and all that stuff, you don't think about what other people deal with. But seeing this show has really put into perspective, I mean, they talk everything from being raped, beaten, not allowed any jobs, can't further their education. I mean, a lot of these women have gone through such deplorable things, and we perpetuate them just because we're refusing to learn. I mean, my God, a trans person wanting to use your bathroom, how does that affect you in any way? Do you go into the bathroom, whip out your dick, and say, hey, men, look at me, do we all have dicks in here? Like, I'm so confused, because all you do is you go into a stall or a urinal, you pee, or you shit, or you masturbate. Let's face it, the men's room is a lot of masturbation. You go in there, you do your thing, you wash your hands, hopefully, and you leave. Like, what in the world are you so afraid of if a trans man wants to use the bathroom? In all honesty, you know that trans man is probably terrified to go into the bathroom, because if he is, outed because he's always going into the stall, I'm sure he wants to be able to use a urinal. But then that also had me thinking, here's where I fall victim to the dangerous curiosity of questions, because I don't understand the questions that are off limits to trans people. I am a person that comes from a place where no questions are off limits, so you can ask me anything. So I do tend to ask anything, and I expect the person on the receiving end to tell me when they're uncomfortable. And if you're uncomfortable and you don't tell me, I'm going to keep going. Do we see what's happening? So basically, with reassignment surgery, which is where I have a lot of questions, I personally would think, and I've thought about this because I've been like, well, I feel like every individual deals with a gender and a sexuality battle within themselves every day. I really do think we all do. I don't think it's specific for the LGBT community. I think every day straight women wake up and there's a thought in their head about whether they find another woman to be sexual and their sexuality comes into question, or whether they think about how being a woman is holding them back and they're questioning, why was I born into this struggle? It'd be so easy to be a man, right? And that's gender. So I think gender and sexuality are thought of all the time. We don't discuss it. I constantly think of my gender. I love being a boy and I love having a penis. However, of course, I'm thinking about times where it'd be so much better, easier, and more fun to be a girl. And I do wonder that because I think dresses and skirts are fabulous. I've worn them and I love them. And they're so comfy, and you can walk outside on a summer day in a nice sheer dress and nobody's gonna say shit, and flowing air all around your genitals. It feels amazing. I mean, let's face it, everybody should wear a dress every now and then. It's just so amazing. And that's gender, but sexuality also being, I can see myself being with a woman. I am sexually fluid. I've done a video on it. I could totally have sex with a woman. I love having sex with men. I would do both all at the same time. Give it to me on a platter. Like, I just think we box ourselves in with gender and with sexuality, that if we experimented more and if we allowed each other to explore what those two things really are, I think the information would be so abundant and people would be so grateful. I really do. And I think this is something all of us need to think about. My eyes have been opened via watching this show, and just, I have a couple trans friends. I don't really speak to many of them anymore. They're back in the Midwest. Great people. There was one specific that I knew. I thought she was so bold and really a pioneer for our community and our group of friends. She was one of the first in the community in the Midwest to really go out there and say, fuck you, this is me. And I respect her so much. And she was beautiful, like stunning. We don't speak anymore. And actually, I just saw she deleted me on Facebook. So she probably has a whole different version of our friendship. But anyway, the funny part is I can also relate this to the gay community. All of this judgment, all of the shame. I mean, just a decade ago, gays and lesbians were fighting for the same equality and justice. And it's so funny how easy we forget we've been segregated within our own community. And I feel like the powers that be divided us. And I remember when you would walk into a bar in the early 2000s, you were accepted. It wasn't that much judgment. I don't know how it changed so fast. I remember walking in, all the older men would accept you. They would say, come, have drinks with us, talk to us. What was your struggle? there was judgment, of course, we're human. However, you walked in and you felt accepted. A gay bar was a safe haven. Now you walk in, it's fucking Click Central, and all by the same overly tan, like, muscle bunny. Like, what the fuck is your point? What's your point? All of my friends who were 24 and fabulous with the tan and the muscles, and they were power tops and they fucked every bottom in the city, they're all fat or balding now. Like, literally within 6 years, you just all went downhill. I don't know what happened, but don't ever let experiences like that tear you away from your inner journey. Like, if you're getting harassed or beat up because you're trans, because you're gay, because you're lesbian, or because you're bisexual, don't allow that to stop your journey. This is your journey, and this is for no one else. And hashtag, I just want to touch on the sidebar of the B in the fucking BLT. I always thought it'd be funny if it was called a GBLT. GBLT. Because when I came out, it was the GLBT. Gays were first, let's admit it. So lesbians, you totally had a power play. But it also had me thinking about the B. I think most of the world, most of America, most people are not admitting to themselves that they are bisexual. I think everybody is sexually fluid. I think of it as a parameter. And I talked about this on that sexually fluid video. Straight, gay, and you fall somewhere in. And I just think that most neo-masculine heterosexual men in North America, especially in the United States, are so scared to admit that. They're so scared to admit another man's attractive. They're so scared to admit they want to suck a D or have their ass eaten or, take a D. And it's nothing to be scared of. It's human nature. It's sexuality, and it's okay. And it's okay to experiment. It's okay to experience. As a black straight man, experience it. It's amazing. And I only shout out to you guys because I know your community is one of the hardest to be sexually identity acceptable, to just accept somebody for who they are. And it's not fair. And I think if we all talked about it as a society more and more communities would start to accept it. I mean, the acceptance of Caitlyn Jenner is amazing. I think that mainstream media has spun out of control the fact that she was Republican and, that whole fiasco, because it's already dying out on her show, and her show hasn't even been on for a year. So I really do think that we as a people need to start thinking, what is the LGBT community going through? What are the struggles that they're having to face? And how come trans people aren't as accepted broadly as the rest of us, when really take off the shellac, take off, the surgeries and everything, anything you want. We're people. We're people, and they identify as a gender they weren't born into. So I'm having a really hard time as how we're not all accepting everybody for being whatever they want. As long as no one's hurting anyone, I don't see the harm. But it also had me thinking, and I don't mean to upset anyone talking about this, but it's a real subject. And in my head, I was thinking, well, if I were to go trans, and again, stuff I've thought about, I'm not transitioning to be a woman. I love being a guy. However, thinking about it, I feel like surgeries for genital reassignment, not for me. I think if you believe you were born into the wrong body, I think there's a reason, and I think there's a plight you're supposed to endeavor. And I feel like changing your body's appearance and having invasive surgeries and putting yourself through genital mutilation, I don't think that's safe. I don't think it's healthy. I don't think it's what your psyche needs in order to deal with the gender you are. I think it's a vanity issue, and I am really not coming for trans people who get gender reassignment. I totally get it. Please understand, this is for me. This is my thoughts, and I'm not putting judgment onto anyone who does anything with their own body. Do you, honey? But I'm just saying, for me, and for anyone out there listening and wondering and struggling with the idea of gender or genital reassignment surgery, it's not something you have to do. You can absolutely love your body but be another gender, and I think that is okay. It's also okay to get the gender reassignment surgery. I mean, I don't believe in straight women or lesbian women getting breast enhancements, but women get boob jobs all the time. It's a vanity surgery. There's no fucking reason you need bigger breasts. It's vanity. I don't agree with it, but I'm not thinking, oh my god, all the women out there that are doing it are evil. No. I guess I do have a little bit of judgment on the women that do it in my mind, but You know, that's where we as humans have to learn to accept each other. But also, if you were using that statement, then you could say, well, they need to learn to accept themselves. So, I mean, honestly, huge discussion. Take part in it. Add a comment below and let me know what you think. Do you have trans friends? Are you transitioning? Are you bisexual? Are you gay? Are you lesbian? Are you closeted? Are you out? Because let me tell you, do not be closeted. Do not remain skeletons in the closet person, because that shit tears you down. The amount of stress you are keeping inside your own body is eating away at you. If you are gay, if you are lesbian, if you are bi, or you are trans, come out. Come out to a coworker, come out to a best friend, come out to a grandmother, come out to somebody safe. The words leaving your mouth is going to make you feel like a new person, and you need that. You deserve that. You've been living a lie. So please take this video into consideration and keep the conversation going. This is a really interesting topic, and more of us need to have it. Anyway, I want to end on that, and peace out. Take care of yourselves.